Welcome back, everyone. I'm very excited you're joining us today because I'm here with the co-founder of Codeship. Thanks so much for joining us, Flo.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start out with my favorite thing about your work. Like I shared before we got started, I'm not very tech savvy, and my favorite thing about Codeship is that you're eliminating that moment of saying, oops, the feature didn't work, and then you have to take it off the site. Can we start out with you sharing the catalyst to start this company?
Sure. So basically the idea how it started is I was always in any team I worked and in university and stuff like that. I was always the guy really thinking about the process. How can we make our process better? How can we ship stuff? How can we make sure we don't break it? Because I don't want to break stuff for our customers and for users out there. I want to make sure that everything works before it goes out there. And because also that helps us to be way more focused. We don't have to jump all the time into repairing stuff. So I really thought that is important. And in all teams I worked at, I was always the guy setting that up and making sure this is in place. And after like the fifth time of setting up the same thing and making sure everybody has the same kind of tools in place, I thought like, why am I doing this all over again and again and again? Shouldn't this be like a service that I can just set up in a minute and not have to deal with it anymore? And that's how it all started. We started the idea came up in like early 2010, mid 2010. We started building the first prototype in late 2010. The prototype online in about May, I think it was 5th of May, 2011. Was basically a side project at this point, but we got more and more traction, more and more people coming in and wanted to give this a try, wanted to ship faster and safer. And about like so a little bit before the summer, so about around May, June 2012, me and my two other co-founders, Manny and Mo, decided, okay, this is actually happening and we need to do this full time. Dropped out of university and finished all the other stuff we had to do and said, okay, let's do this. Let's move to Berlin for a while. Went to Berlin and yeah, that's from then on, Codeship was born.
So then you guys came here for Techstars Boston and now you work back home in Vienna and there. How do you make sure that there's still a sense of cross-functional collaboration on your team being on two continents?
Yeah. So one thing that is really important for us is that we don't split the team in terms of functionality in different offices. So we have developers here, we have developers back in Vienna, we have a developer in Brussels, and they're looking to hire more developers in Europe as well. So it's really important that teams that in every location on every continent, people can actually ship stuff. They can work separately on that. They can work together, and when it is something that they should be working together on, but they can separately ship stuff as well. And we don't want to build those silos that you have like Boston is this engineering process and this infrastructure part is only here. Because also that just doesn't work anymore in terms of where you get the best people, because the best person to build our infrastructure might not be in Boston or might not be in Vienna or might somewhere in between. So we want to make sure that in both locations people are qualified and we find the right people to build all of our stuff and maintain our stuff, keep it running and keep our customers happy with that. And so we, from the beginning, try to have everybody in chat. So we use Slack a lot. We do a lot of calls with Google Hangouts or others and really share. Like we have a weekly meeting where we discuss everything in the team, any open questions, anything that happened in terms of the business, product, or fundraising. So we want to be very, very open about everything in the team and get everybody's input. Since we're a development company, so we build a development tool, every programmer in the team is actually a customer and understands the product very, very well. So the input of everybody on the team is super important and super critical, which makes it a little bit different, I think, than from most other products. But I think that the people actually implementing the technology can give a lot of feedback regardless of the product that you have. So that's some of the things that are really, really important for us.
That's something that really intrigued me about your work, because in one of your blog posts you shared that a lot of your customers are developers. So the type of feedback they give you are action steps on how to improve your product. Once they give you that feedback flow, what do you do with it?
Depends. So we generally get a lot of feedback. We talk to customers a lot. And so our product team, we really try to put them in different buckets, make sure we understand really deeply what their actual problem is. Oftentimes, while they give very in-depth feedback, we really want to understand, is it that feature exactly that they need, or is there underlying a bigger problem? Like there's a lot of things where they might ask for a specific feature, but in the end it turns out what they actually need is a better way to organize their team, for example. So they ask on something that seems like a relatively easy thing, but there's a very deep underlying problem. We try to identify those and find those. to fix and to build for our customers. So in terms of the process, we have various internal meetings regularly, go over different feedback that we get from our customers, make sure that we talk a lot with our support team, whatever's coming in and where people really have problems with. That's roughly what we do.
How do you get to the root of their problem? Because a lot of companies say, really delve into your user feedback, see what they really mean. But I think it's more challenging to do than to say, of course.
Sure. We really sit down. We spend a lot of time with people. Either we call with them, or even today, like two of our guys, so main product guy and one of our engineers, went over to another team who are, from their complexity, a larger team, like in a future segment for us, and really sat down with them, talked through all of their infrastructure, all of their setup, just to really deeply understand like what are their problems, what are their future challenges that we would have to solve with our product. So we really spend a lot of time just sitting there with people, asking them how they exactly work, making sure to understand their whole setup in terms of like the infrastructure, but also the team, and really understand the challenges. I think that we're dealing a lot with, it's not just a technical problem that we solve. A lot of that is a team issue or like a team challenge as well. Because if you want to like change your code base and change your product 10, 15, 20 times a day, it's not enough to just have a good technology, but to have the whole team really needs to buy into that. And oftentimes when I talk to people, it's like the first step is, how can I convince my team that this is actually what we should be doing? How can I like get these small wins in? How can I get started? And so that this is definitely as much of a thing as just understanding like their product needs in the future. So yeah, we just sit around and spend a lot of time with our customers and really understanding them. Which is easy because we talk to developers all day anyway.
You just mentioned, Flo, that something you guys are really active helping your customers with is actually moving forward with the experiment or the new feature that they want to add. Mm-hmm. One of the speakers at Lean Startup last week said, good enough is better than perfect. Yeah. How does that apply to coding? Because for someone like me who's not very familiar in that space, I would fear putting out an experiment that may have bugs in it or that may not work how I intended it to.
Yeah, I think the important thing there is good enough. Good enough doesn't necessarily mean experiment in terms of the quality of the code necessarily. There has to be some level. So how I like to frame it best is, if you provide code, if you build code and add tests and automated system where you're able to, at 11 p.m. in the evening, you change something, you ship something, and then go to bed, and you don't worry at all about that this now gets released and is out there, because you know, for one thing, you have that gut feeling that all your tests will really make sure everything works well, everything is fine, everything is there, but also your system will notify you and alert you if something goes wrong. That's really a good place to be in. So what I try to tell people is, get started, test your most important workflows, make sure that works fine, make sure your login system doesn't fail through your tests, make sure other parts there doesn't fail. So you build up that immune system against any kinds of bugs that could go into your infrastructure. And then good enough really is more of a product or feature sense of like, okay, does this actually solve our customers' problems? Is it close enough? But not, does it break? I think that's something that is really important, because if it breaks, you're always in firefighting mode. You always have to go back into firefighting mode, and the earlier you catch the bugs, the better. So having a smart strategy on how do I test, how do I roll out my stuff, that on the one hand doesn't take me too long of a time, but builds up that immune system that I fully trust, is super important. And that's really how we try to help our customers and teams that come to us and really ask us, like, how can I get started? Like, I have this code base, or I'm starting out, I want to ship fast, but I don't want to break stuff. And that's how we tell people and how we help people to get started.
Great. And one of the things you guys do that I really admire is you actually physically ship people gifts from Codeship.
Yes.
And whether it's t-shirts or magnets, I think you've given your company a voice that can't be stimulated on the internet. Yeah. Why has that humor element been so important to your growth? Because I know you guys have thousands of paying customers.
Yes. So it's basically because that's who we are. I think a lot of what we really wanted to have from the beginning is we don't want that wall between us and our customers. There's a lot of trust that people have to give to us. because in the end, like we have access to their code base and access to their production systems. So we really hold the keys to the castle. So we want to make sure that they really, really deeply trust us, and that we really take care of everything we do here very, very well. And so we want to like let our team shine through, so that they understand like who's working on this, what's our background, how do we think about all that processes. And that is also part of like, we want to have our characters be out there. We're a group of really passionate developers that want to solve a problem for other developers. So we don't want to hide behind like the kind of like Codeship, the company. So there's Codeship, the company, but that's made up of a group of people that's just really passionate about this. And we want that to be out there. And also for us, it's just fun. Like all that stuff that we send out, the packages, we send out like handwritten notes, and have fun in all our infrastructure, all our product, or have like Captain Mo, like, so Mo, my co-founder and our CEO, is like, when you start setting up a new project, there's like Captain Mo, and do you want to get help from Captain Mo? And all that kind of fun stuff that we really enjoy, and that really shows somehow our company culture, and our personal culture through. And that's been always really important for us from the beginning. And in our support messages and everything we do, like playing with that Codeship wording and like come join the ship or get on board, is like, you'll find those kinds of terms all over the application and all over our messaging. And that helps a lot, because people just feel way more connected and just put more trust into that then.
Another way that you guys do that is being very active on Quora. How has that helped you interact with people, whether they're customers or not customers?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the important part for us, we really want to build thought leadership. So people, it's not just about selling our product, but people need to understand the same, that they trust us in the end. They need to understand how we think about infrastructure, how we think about software and development processes. So sharing the lessons we've learned, but also all the lessons that we learn constantly by talking to hundreds and thousands of developers, is really how we can make sure that they know and they trust us. So that's with Quora or other systems, or like the blog posts or general content that we write. That's a really important part of making people understand how we think and making people trust us. And also just helping people. Like I want people to, like, the better they are at building infrastructure and use the processes that we think are good, obviously the better that suits using our product. But in the end, it's really making them better and helping them on their way to build the infrastructure. And then there's definitely a place for Codeship in their processes as well.
So as you say that, Flo, it's very clear that your main mission is to help people.
Yes.
And whether it's sending people fun gifts, interacting with them on Quora, writing blog posts, these are all things that aren't necessarily scaling the profitability of your company. They're nice things to do. And we've learned that doing things that don't scale is the best way to grow your company. Can you give a little bit of insight on why other companies should do this?
Yeah, I think in one of the big things is there for us, it's really like core to who we are. So we said like one of the big things for us is to build for the builders. Like we like to be, we're not customer or like general customer or general population, like kind of product builders. We like building tools for others to build cool stuff with, because that's how we feel like kind of being a part of these other cool parts. Because if we help like the next really huge mobile application to gain traction, or the next, I don't know, Tinder or whatever, we kind of feel part of every of these teams, and like we're touching the lives of many, many people through that. And I think that, for example, sending out all of our shirts, like that helps us so much with building a connection with people. They tell their friends, that's the word of mouth. They think we're just a nice group of people and a fun group of people. And in the beginning, like you need to build those evangelists. You need those people who don't just like your product, but they like you. They like you, they like your mission, they believe and trust in your mission, and they will go out and run like nobody else for you. We have people like on meetups, they tell everyone. When we are on Twitter, like people who've been with us for a long, long time, and when somebody writes like, okay, I need some kind of like continuous integration system, continuous deployment system, which one should I use? Or they mention a couple of ones. There's always somebody else jumping in of like, hey, you really should use Codeship. I've been with them for like since forever. They send us this cool swag. They're really nice people. Met them maybe here and there, and learned a lot from them. And that's just something where it's much more believable. Like I can send them, of course, like all the how we think about the product, how we think about like what it kind of problem it solves for them. But there's nothing better than somebody else coming in and saying, I really trust them, I give them access everywhere, and I pay them money, and I'm so happy, and I actually like having a beer with them. That's like the holy grail of evangelists. And so building that in the beginning is hugely important. And many other companies have like done that very, very successfully. So investing that pays off very, very handsomely. So all of the sending out shirts and all that stuff is a very easy sell internally. Why we spend that money on, because it comes back so many more times on that.
Very well said. And before we close, I want to just touch on one of the blogs that you wrote about change. Mm-hmm. You said that companies should build change into their technologies. Yes. And right when I read that, I thought, that's genius. And then I thought, what exactly does he mean by that? How can companies do that? What does it mean to build change into your technology?
Yeah. So basically, I think that the basic premise is that the only really constant we have in any kind of company building or product is constant change, be it from competitors coming out with new products or new features, just our customers expecting us to move forward. I think everybody of us knows products that they've used in the past, but at some point stagnated and just didn't go anywhere. And they might have solved the current problem, but we lost trust in them delivering on what we need tomorrow. But even like internally, our teams, our processes, our technologies constantly need to change, and we constantly need to deal with that. So in any system or any process that we have in the company, in a startup, but especially in the technology, we need to be able to deal with that. And as per default, expect everything to change any day. So we need, like, the faster we can deal with that change, the faster we can, like, that stream of change that's coming our way, the faster we can turn that around, and the more we can use that to actually become faster and stronger with that, to, for example, to be able to quickly implement features that other competitors have, or react on feedback from customers. The faster we can use that change, that power of change that they push in our direction, the bigger we become, the more successful we become. So seeing change as something, as the only constant and the only thing that's going to happen all the time, and building everything, every process in your company to not like try to push against that change, but use it to become faster is really crucial. And for your infrastructure, like, there's many different ways how to deal with that. But yeah, basically you should be able to change anything, anytime, without having to think about this, really. So you can really focus on your code, on your product, and all the infrastructure is just happening. Like, it's just something that just happens automatically, and somebody else takes care, or some automated system takes care. Because only then you're really, really free to not have to constantly in the back of your mind go like, is this actually up? Does this work? Does it break? Is there a problem? But can really focus on, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing, the next change that's coming our way? How we can we best use it to push forward?
Great. And one of the ways you guys are helping people do that is with Adam MacArthur. I'm not sure if you read this post online. Have you read it?
Yes. The Australian guy, you mean?
Yeah, he's a high school student who uses Codeship to help him get a 4.0. I couldn't stop smiling when I read that, because I don't think there's a better application for your product than that.
Fully agree. That was pretty cool to read. Yeah, that made our day.
How do you want to use these types of stories, Flo, to motivate what you want to accomplish in the next year, to help more people like Adam? Yeah,
so I think that, education is really crucial for us, that there's this new way of building infrastructure, this new way of building products, is iterating so quickly. It's something that is really new for a lot of teams, and we want to show them that, like, a high school student in Australia was able to use it to become faster and better. So that's a process that not just like the largest companies or like the smallest or the best or whatever companies can use, but really everybody can use. And we're now at a point where really everybody building products really has to use it, because software eats the world. Software is touching any product out there. So you need to make sure that software is not keeping you back. Like, the best infrastructure in the world will not necessarily make you win in your product market fit. Like, there's marketing, your product needs to work. But if you have an infrastructure that's actively holding you back from iterating quickly, and that's actively holding you back from marketing and building a better product, you're definitely going to lose. So keeping that in mind and really thinking through how we build and the processes we use and the way we build technologies is crucial for everyone. And we are at a place where high school students, small, medium-sized, large teams, everybody can do it that way. It's just a matter of getting started. You don't have to do every step today. Like there's a process how you can get into that, and there's many blog posts, and I've written a couple on those as well, how to get started and go there. But you really can't wait to go there. Like there's no more time to wait out, because competition is probably already there. And if you're not already there, you definitely need to catch up on them, and should be starting today. And so we spend a lot of time in educating people, in writing blog posts, in the best practices that we've learned, and how people can just get started without having to think about too much about like how exactly and where exactly do I start, but just get started and get it done.
Perfect. Can we close, Flo, with you sharing how people can get in touch with Codeship and get in touch with you?
Sure. Of course, there's Codeship.com. So if you want to get started and give it a try, I'm Flo Motlik on Twitter, or you can always send me an email to flo@codeship.com. So that's FLO@codeship.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.